The corridors of the Imperial starship glowed faintly with soft bioluminescence, each wall panel humming with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. I had never been inside the heart of the Valori Empire before, and the scale of it was overwhelming. Towers of polished crystal rising into translucent ceilings, ambient energy flowing in currents along the floors, and a quiet presence of power that pressed down on all who entered. I had come as a delegate from Earth, tasked with negotiating trade agreements and ensuring our fledgling alliance would not collapse before it even began. But what I did not expect was the moment that would change everything. Her entrance was subtle, almost casual, yet the room seemed to bend around her. The alien queen stepped into the chamber, tall and regal, her skin shimmering like molten silver, her eyes an iridescent swirl of colors that no human iris could ever reproduce. Her presence alone was commanding, and even before she spoke, the delegates, including myself, fell silent, as if the universe itself had paused. "You are late, human," she said, her voice carrying both amusement and authority. It was melodic yet resonant, speaking not just into the air but directly into the mind. "I apologize, Your Majesty," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the awe that gripped me. The diplomatic process took longer than expected. She smiled faintly, a gesture that sent ripples through the ambient light. "And yet, you are here now. That is what matters." The meeting proceeded with formalities and protocols, each word measured, each gesture weighted with centuries of tradition. But I could not focus. My eyes kept finding her, the way her hair floated slightly as if in its own gravitational field, the subtle shimmer of her ceremonial robes, and the way her gaze seemed to peer not just at my form but into my very thoughts. Hours passed. Discussions about trade, technology, and cultural exchange filled the room. But when the session concluded and the delegates began to leave, she gestured for me to remain. "I wish to speak with you, human," she said softly. "Alone." My heart pounded. I had anticipated the political intrigue, perhaps even a tense negotiation, but not a private audience with the Queen herself. We entered a smaller chamber, its walls glowing with an ethereal blue light. The atmosphere was warm, infused with subtle fragrances I could not identify. She gestured for me to sit. "You have been honest," she began, "but also curious." I blinked. "Curious? You ask questions about our technology, our culture, our customs. You seek to understand more than protocol demands. That is unusual for a human delegate." I hesitated, then nodded. "I believe understanding is the key to any alliance. Without it, agreements are empty words." She tilted her head, and I felt an electric current of awareness pass between us. "Perhaps," she murmured, "you also understand something more." Before I could respond, she reached out, her fingers brushing against the edge of the holographic table between us. Light danced across her skin, illuminating the subtle nuances of her features. I could not look away, and in a moment of reckless thought, I spoke words I did not intend to be formal, careful, or political. "You know, Your Majesty, I have to say, you are the most beautiful being I have ever seen." The silence that followed was suffocating. Even the soft hum of the room seemed to falter. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw something flicker in them: surprise. I did not say that," I stammered, realizing instantly that my words might have crossed a boundary I did not even know existed. Her lips parted, and then, softly, she whispered, "Did you just propose to me, human?" I froze. My mind scrambled, searching for context, for escape, for anything to explain how my words had been misconstrued or perhaps, too truthfully construed. "No," I said quickly. "I didn't mean it's not." My words trailed off as I noticed the faintest curve of her lips. Her laugh was delicate, like crystal chimes in a gentle breeze, and it carried no judgment, only a kind of amused astonishment. "Yet, in your mind, there was intent." Yes. It was a compliment, I said, trying to inject humor, though my voice shook. She moved closer, and the ambient gravity in the room seemed to respond to her presence, drawing me slightly toward her. A compliment, she mused. Is that how humans declare commitment? I swallowed. No, not exactly. It was a mistake. Please, Your Majesty. She held up a hand, and the energy in the room pulsed gently around her. Do not speak. Let me see. I understood, with an odd clarity, that resistance was meaningless. The Queen did not command with force, not entirely. Her power was subtler, more absolute, an authority over presence and perception that left no room for evasion. She studied me, her eyes deep pools of light and shadow, searching, probing. Then, in the softest whisper, she said, I accept. My breath caught. I blinked, certain that I had misheard. Excuse me? I accept, she repeated, her tone calm, unwavering, yet resonant with layers of meaning I could not begin to parse. Your proposal. Or whatever it was that passed between your thoughts and words. I accept it. I sank into the nearest seat, dumbfounded. This was no treaty, no political maneuver. This was a declaration that altered the very trajectory of my existence. I don't understand, I managed to say. You will, she said simply. All in time, human. But for now, know this. The choice you never intended to make has been made for you by the forces that brought you here. And by me. I struggled to grasp the implications. Our alliance, Earth's position in the galaxy, my role as a human delegate all paled beside the intimate and incomprehensible weight of her words. The Queen of the Valori Empire, the most powerful and enigmatic being I had ever encountered, had accepted my unintended declaration. Why? I whispered, barely audibly. Why? She repeated, and her eyes softened, almost imperceptibly. Because in that moment, your sincerity reached me. Not through words, not through ceremony, but through the essence of your being. It is rare, human. Too rare for many of my kind. I realized, in the space of her gaze, that I was no longer merely a delegate, a negotiator, or a representative of Earth. I was entwined in a bond that spanned not just our species but the very fabric of authority and trust in her empire. Over the following days, the reality of our unusual union unfolded. The Queen introduced me to aspects of her life that no human had ever witnessed: private councils, sacred rituals, and the subtle interplay of psychic influence that guided the empire. Through it all, she remained near, a constant presence that was simultaneously intimidating and comforting. We spoke little of what had transpired in that chamber, though each glance, each movement carried the weight of that moment. I found myself learning more about her, about the complexities of her position, and the intricacies of alien politics than any formal briefing could convey. In turn, she seemed fascinated by my perspective, my humanity, my ability to see the world without the same centuries of accumulated empire and tradition that constrained her. Weeks passed, and I began to understand the unspoken truth. Acceptance was not merely a word, it was a shared responsibility. Our bond, unexpected and improbable, carried with it the weight of diplomacy, destiny, and the delicate balance of the empire itself.